Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. This is the studio where we cook at Urban Cowgirl. We test recipes in here, we make cookbooks in here. And so rather than my home kitchen, I thought this would be the most appropriate place to bring you to start showing you how you should set up your space. Now, all chefs set up their space in generally the same way, and that's because it makes it so comfortable. So that's what I want to show you today. I want to show you where everything is around here, what we do to make things so easy, and how you can do this in your own home kitchen. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about today is your cutting board, and I want to show you the trick that they show all culinary students on the first day, but I don't see outside of culinary school, I don't see a lot. And we're going to be doing a whole chapter on cutting boards because there is many different versions out there, but the cutting board trick that is going to change your life, ready for it, is that you're going to want to take a clean rag, something like this. It could be a little bit smaller if you wanted to, and you're going to wet it, okay? So I'm just wetting it just to be damp, wring it out a little bit. And then what I like to do is maybe fold mine in half. Okay, and then I move my cutting board and I place it underneath. Now, this is not gonna move. It's not gonna move if you're cutting vegetables. It's not gonna move if you're doing anything. And what it does is make you feel a lot more secure about what you're doing, because this is your canvas, it's your palette where everything is gonna happen. Okay, next up, I'm gonna have another rag, and this is gonna be damp. It's gonna be used for both wiping my knives in between, like little tiny cuts of vegetables left on the knives, and it'll also be for wiping my board. Okay, so generally chefs will keep that around here. This is actually an apartment studio, so I don't have as much room as you might have in a normal kitchen, but you're just gonna keep that nearby. And now we're gonna talk about our knives, okay? Again, there's gonna be a whole other chapter on knives, but in general, everybody is gonna want a 6-inch chef knife. Now there's a couple brands that I love, and there's many brands that I hate because I feel like they're just taking advantage of home cooks. I like Shun. I like Japanese, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you can also use a German brand called Wüsthof. It has a W, but it's pronounced with a V. And there's a couple other brands that I'm gonna put below that I think are classic brands. So the 6-inch knife is gonna be mostly used for everything. This is an extension of your hand. This is how you're gonna hold it. You're gonna have your fingers curled under. You're gonna have your thumb behind, and I was always taught the scissor method. Some people choose to chop, but however you choose to chop vegetables, this is gonna be like Harry Potter's wand. It is never gonna leave your hand, and it is gonna be what helps you create all the magic in the kitchen. So besides that, we have a paring knife. And this is just a littler version of the big guy. So this is useful for smaller cutting, like if you were slicing strawberries, if you were working down carrots from the whole carrot into julienne. There's a couple times you might bring this out. What you're gonna find is you are gonna set what you like to do. So I encourage you to experiment, but usually both of these knives come out as soon as the chef is ready to work, okay? So big and little knife, and then occasionally you're gonna use your serrated knife. This is for bread and tomatoes. I don't think most people know that when you see the serrated knife, this is for bread. It cuts perfect slices of bread, but it also will cut tomatoes without you losing the skin, and they get all kind of yucky. So that's why we have this. You don't sharpen a bread knife, a serrated knife, you just buy a new one. I've had this so long. This is actually my culinary school knife, so these will last you a really long time. I also have my steel. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more whenever I show you how to sharpen your knife, but ultimately you're just going to keep it at an angle, and this is what we use to bring the blade back to perfect in between our sharpening, because it can actually like bend a little bit slightly. That's what I was always told, and you can put that straight edge on it by having one of these guys, and you just use it every so often. Again, it doesn't sharpen your knife. I will show you how you're going to sharpen your knife, but it just brings the edge back. So I always say invest in these. Some people don't know what they are, but that's why chefs have those. So now we've got the basics of our setup. And one thing that I have found that's very helpful is to always drag your trash can out of the pantry and have it nearby. Mine is right here, right out of frame, because I'm constantly going to be putting stuff in there. I also love the old trick to have a big bowl nearby. Do I have a big bowl? Maybe something like this. This would, this is my salad bowl, but you can make a trash bowl and just put it nearby you, especially if you don't want to drag your trash can out of the pantry, you can't, and all your trash goes into it. Plastics, food waste, animal fats, cutting off a steak, everything goes into that trash bowl. These are the things that are gonna make your cooking experience so enjoyable. The first step of any recipe is to assemble your tools, and then you're gonna start breaking down your ingredients. So we do something called mise en place. And again, if you really enjoy cooking and you want to enjoy it like a chef, let me just tell you, just do all the things the chefs do, okay? So whenever you see mise en place in a professional kitchen, it might look very official. You can kind of do this in your own home. You can use little bowls to place things in. Like if we were doing a stir fry, maybe the onions go in a bowl, red bell peppers go in a bowl, whatever. If you don't want to get your bowls out, I do this all the time. I just use my cutting board and I just place the ingredients on the, on the baking sheet that I'm gonna need for the recipe. The only thing that you wouldn't wanna place on there, of course, is raw meats next to vegetables that aren't gonna be cooked fully, okay? But if you wanna do nice little bowls like that, you can. The reason why this works is because cooking is mostly chemical changes. It's just like chemistry. Things are happening really quickly. And so you're being a good scientist and you need everything available to you at the right moment to make the right chemical process happen. We'll talk more about those chemical processes later, but just know that think about it like a laboratory. You gotta have things ready to go. Your little Bunsen burners and your fires are going. You gotta have it ready to go because it's not gonna wait for you. The steak will burn, the vegetables will be overcooked, but if it's all at your fingertips, then you're a captain who's in control, okay? So the second thing I'm gonna get out is any specialty tools that I need. And we'll be going over all these specialty tools later, but you're just gonna wanna look at your recipe and you're gonna wanna go down the list and say, okay, I'm gonna need to grate some Parmesan cheese, solve my zester. I'm gonna need to peel some vegetables, so I'm gonna have these are the kind of peelers I like. The sideways kinds are way better than the ones Grandma used. I'm gonna need to get that out. I'm gonna be making meatballs, so I'm gonna need my scoop. So you get everything out that you'll need and you bring it to your station and then you start your work, obviously. So now we're gonna collect some ingredients and we're gonna get what we need to prep the first part of the recipe, which will just be all the ingredients, the spices. Maybe you're even gonna check your oils, make sure everything is all set up for showtime. Okay guys, so we collected all of our ingredients for our recipe. We've got them right here. We've got everything at our fingertips that we need. Now, assuming we've already washed our vegetables, the only other thing you might want to have nearby, and you might find that really makes your experience of cooking more enjoyable, is some gloves. It's not always with vegetables we need gloves, but when we're mixing meat, when we're handling cold things especially, I always like to use gloves, and you definitely want to always use gloves anytime that you're cooking for someone other than your family and you're making ready-to-eat foods. Ready-to-eat foods would be like a salad where everything that you are touching is going to be eaten raw by somebody else. So if you want to have a professional standard that chefs use, we always have our gloves for our ready-to-eat items and anything that's messy that we don't really want to touch. So that pretty much completes our setup for what we want our kitchen to look like before we're ready to start a recipe. Every time I break down a vegetable, I cut it and dice it into what it's gonna look like for the recipe. It goes in a bowl, or if you don't want to be that fussy, you put it on a mound on your baking sheet, and then this baking sheet just travels with you everywhere you go. If you're going to the barbecue, it goes with you. If you're just coming over here to the stove, it goes with you. This is gonna make it so much more comfortable for you to cook. Hey guys, welcome to the hot cooking area. I just thought I'd walk you through this. We're real behind the scenes now, but this is exactly how it works. So the first thing that I want to talk about is I find it really helpful to have this container full of tongs. Why? Because tongs are everything, they're the workhorse when you're over here. These are needle tongs. This is what a lot of chefs use. Everything else in here is just ordinary tongs. And I have some wooden spoons because that is what's easiest to break down ground beef, you know, anything in here that's going to be choppy. And one thing that I don't do is I don't keep anything in this container that I don't need for this area. Everything in here is for hot cooking, and it's always well stocked. Then we have some rags here for holding the hot side of pans, anything that gets hot. This one is a little bit damp. This is what I was using earlier. I'm always cleaning up spills very quickly. It's just something that makes everything go much smoother if you have all the tools that you need right here. It's kind of like operating an aircraft. You know, you just want to always bring things back to cleanliness and back to where you can think. That is, like, honestly 90% of the job. So you'll see over here I have some of my oils. This is going to be my high smoke point oil. This is going to get this pan rocking hot and still not turn into smoke. Whatever olive oil that you are using does not do that, okay? I hope you guys aren't using olive oil to sear a lot of things. We'll talk about how hot you can get your pan when you're using something like extra virgin olive oil. But overall, whenever you're cooking hot and fast over here on the stove, you want to be using a high smoke point oil. So that's where I keep it, and I do keep it in my squeezy bottle. You should keep it like this, just like a chef, because it makes everything so much easier. Now we're coming over here, you're gonna see the kosher salt and the pepper. Why? Because we season as we go. We're gonna season the meat before, and we're gonna season everything in the pan, tasting as we go. That is how chefs get the appropriate amount of salt, which makes pop-in flavor. The flavor you taste in a restaurant comes from salt. Now, we're gonna do a whole salt test in the next chapter, but the reason we use kosher salt is because we can pick it up and drop it. It gets very easy after about 6 months of working with it to be able to measure it with your fingers. This is going to be one of the biggest changes to cooking at home, is using kosher salt. It's going to completely transform your cooking. And although I know we overhype salt and pepper together, I always have some black pepper over on my stovetop because I cook a lot of beef, and beef loves black pepper. If you don't cook a lot of beef, there may be another spice that you keep nearby, but for me, it'll always be black pepper because it's usually beef in my Texas kitchen. Okay, now you're cooking hot and fast. And the second thing that you want to think about is, where's that food, where's that hot food gonna go? Because as soon as it's ready to be pulled, you got to get it out of there or it's gonna overcook. So that's why I like to have something that's going to receive the food. So you'll see this is just a normal baking sheet. And then on top of it, I have like a cooling rack. A lot of people put cookies on these. And that way, when I place my steak, chicken, salmon, grilled bread, whatever it is down, it's not sitting in its own juices. And the juices can, you know, fall down through the grates, and it's gonna maintain whatever delicious golden brown crust that we have created in our pan. And then you can do whatever you want with the juices if you're gonna make a pan sauce, whatever, but at least you have kept the integrity of the meat really well by keeping it on a rack like this. Now, if we're pulling something out of here that's juicy, like a stir fry, then we would just want to have a bowl or a platter here available. But you always want to think about, before you start your hot cooking, where's the hot food going to go the minute that it's done? So that's one thing that I would encourage you to do. Anything else here, it's just clean, it's orderly. I have spices up here that I can reach at a moment's notice. But other than that, I just like a clean palette to work with, because then my mind doesn't get confused. So that's gonna be pretty much how we're gonna set up our hot cooking space.